truly shows we are how good mobile devices have become.
Absolutely.
All right. So Nipun, first of all, my heartiest congratulations for scoring 710.
Thank you so much for
Uh,
your help.
oh, you're welcome. And then how does it feel?
It feels really good. That's what probably I was targeting.
Mm.
And I really needed something to help me with the verbal aspect of it. And your course was just exactly what I needed. And I found it at the right time, I want to say.
I was actually looking at your purchase history. You purchased this through GMAT Club for on the 30th of September,
I did.
and so this has been like less than 40 days if we just count.
Absolutely. So the thing was, I had, so after I left my job, I was planning on giving the GMAT. So I
Mm-hmm.
gave a couple of mocks mid-September.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized that the quant was not a problem, but the verbal was my challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking up online courses because I had, I had a lot of time since I was at home after my job, after I
Mm-hmm.
left my job. And that's when I started searching courses. I in fact went to a couple of places and looked at the courses they offered, but they were all weekend courses because as in classes which were on
Classroom
weekends.
courses, okay.
So I looked at a couple of their online courses. Then I got onto GMAT Club and saw the different packages.
Mm-hmm.
Yours seemed more economical and the reviews were really good. So I
Mm-hmm.
took a trial, I think on 30th,
Mm-hmm.
and I paid for it on the 1st and took the entire course.
Okay, perfect. So I was looking at so what we do over here, Nipun, is we actually kind of get to know a bit more about you. What is it that you did? Now you said you've left your job, and then why is it that you're aiming to do an MBA at this point in time? And then we talk about your GMAT preparation. What did you do prior to joining the GMAT course? What did you do after joining the GMAT course? And then what worked for you? And so what is it that, and then again, the entire goal over here is to figure out, are there things that work for you that others could benefit from? And
Okay.
so overall, what we're trying to do is kind of create some sort of a, 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 a set of best practices, things that work for others, and when people hear not from us but from the students that it worked for, I think it's much more beneficial for them.
Absolutely. So okay, to start from my background,
Yes.
I worked with hotels.
Mm-hmm.
So I completed my class 12. I'm based in Bangalore in India right through. Complete my class 12 in the science background. Thereafter, I chose to get into hotels. So I joined the Oberoi group of hotels and did a graduation course with them,
Mm-hmm.
which gives me a 3-year. It was a 3-year course where we worked on the job and did a degree side by side.
Okay.
Thereafter, I did a 2-year postgraduate course with them, which is a management training program.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Thereafter, I worked with the Oberoi Group for 2 years as a restaurant manager,
Okay.
and I moved to the Ritz-Carlton in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
So we opened the first Ritz-Carlton in India. I was part of the pre-opening team.
Okay.
I joined them, worked for a year. So 8 years with hotels, it started getting to me a little bit in terms of when I would compare myself to my colleagues, I would see that I had better prospects of working on something related to my intellect as well. My quant skills weren't completely getting used in what I was doing there as a
Mm-hmm.
restaurant manager.
Okay.
So that's when, and also the balance in terms of the timing that you get to spend
Mm-hmm.
away from in hotels was very taxing. So I wasn't able to sustain on that. So that
Okay.
was one of the reasons that I was looking at a slight career change, and that's when I thought of I looked at a couple of job options, spoke to a few people. Most of them suggested that it would be better if I do an MBA and then get back to working
Okay.
with a career change.
So yeah, I was actually looking at your LinkedIn profile. It still says you are a manager at Ritz Carlton. So you said you mentioned
Exactly.
restaurants. So this means
Yes.
you pretty much know most delicacies in the world, and you've tasted them.
I wouldn't say I know all of them, but yeah, I have been exposed to quite a few because we would do different food tastings as well as we would talk about different cuisines and keep changing and doing a specialty or a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have been exposed to quite a bit, having worked with luxury brands.
Okay, perfect. That's great. So now post so you kind of you said the hotel job was getting to be very taxing. I think you've 12-hour shifts from what I recall, or from what I remember from my uncle's time. He worked at a hotel as well.
Okay.
So is that true? Is that you've got long 12-hour shifts that you've got to be on, or is that why, or was it night shifts?
No, it wasn't night shifts. Having worked in food and beverage, I didn't really have night shifts. I had day shifts mostly. But yes, it's longer than 12 hours that I worked in quite a few more times, and that got to me. And then also, so for a few years it was great, and this was time that I was still young, and probably in a couple of years when I look at family, you don't see that balance coming in. Right now, I'm still
Absolutely.
staying. I mean, I was lucky to have got closer in Bangalore where I was still staying with parents, but possibly when you look at a few years down the line, that balance does not really come in.
I agree with that. I think so. My uncle worked with the Sheraton Group, the Maurya and the Mughal Sheratons in Delhi, and yes, I mean his was a 8 to 10, 8 to 11 job at times, and yes, very very tiring.
Absolutely.
So the good thing was we always got good pastries at home, but again, yeah. So what is it that you want to do post your MBA?
So what I plan to do is, of course, now that I have so much of hoteliering core operation experience, so something that I look at doing is probably working with technology and hotels.
Okay.
I got a little bit of exposure to that in both the hotels that I worked at, because I was part of a team which implemented an in-room automation system in both the hotels.
Okay.
Wherein it's probably a little new to India now that we have iPads in most of the rooms which can control a lot of the features in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of the team from the hotel which represented and designed it for and customized it for our hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right.
that's something that I would like to work with, because that would give me a couple of that would help me use some of my skill sets of with quant and with technology and with logical thinking. All of that I could attribute and use there a lot more.
Okay. All right. That kind of helps. So you love technology as well then, as such.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So 8 years into this industry, you decided to do an MBA. So why? So you've taken the GMAT. Presumably, is it fair to assume that you're looking for an MBA abroad rather than in India, or am I?
I'm still open to both. I'm looking at courses both places. Uh, Places like ISB also do accept the GMAT, so I'm still open to both. It's not that I've completely made up my mind that I'm only going abroad, not in India. I'm still speaking to alumni from Indian colleges as well as abroad.
Okay.
So I haven't completely narrowed down on a school.
Okay. Did you attend our information session on ISB by any chance?
No, I missed that.
Okay.
It
So
was yeah, I got an email on that, but I didn't really take it down that day.
okay. All right. We'll definitely send you the recording, or if you go to our Facebook page, you can get the recording from there.
Absolutely, I'll pick it up from there.
So I think that was a very very interesting session for me. All right. So how did you approach the GMAT once you realized okay you needed one, you needed a good score? So how did you go about approaching it?
So as I said, I started out with a couple of the mocks. I took I downloaded the free GMAT prep test software. Took both those mocks. Scored a 580 then with
Mm-hmm.
a good score in quant, and my verbal was down at 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
So I spoke to another friend of mine who is preparing for the GMAT, try to understand, she's in a classroom course. So I try to understand what sort of, how does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Then I approached two other companies to find out about their online courses.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, just while browsing, I happened to go through GMAT Club, saw the different options there,
Mm-hmm.
read about, and as I said, I read about the e-GMAT course, what really stuck to me was your tagline, which says the course for non-natives.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a trial of it and went ahead and decided that that was what I needed.
Okay. So you talked to your friend who's presumably taking a local classroom course. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, she's taking a crack verbal course in Bangalore.
Okay. So then why did you not decide for a classroom course?
So as I said, I'd left my job. I was at home all day, and I wanted. I always prefer learning at my pace.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer. I see as a person, and also with my previous experience in classes, I am quite a quick learner. So if I see or hear something, I learn it much faster than reading from a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that where I knew clearly that I would need an online course and not really a classroom course,
Mm-hmm.
because in a classroom course there would be uh, I mean the teacher has to go by the speed of the average class,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something that I didn't want to spend time with. I felt that uh, an online course would suit me more.
Okay, perfect. I'm actually glad to hear when people prefer to go online and study, because I think that's the wave of the future, and that's where we are
Absolutely
all going.
true.
So just a bit more context. So the first two mocks that you took, were they with no preparation, or did you
Yes.
prepare some? Oh wow!
Uh, so the
And what
first
was
one I took was absolutely no preparation.
okay?
Then the second one that I took was so I had bought the GMAT, the book, the 2013 book, or GMAT 13, the
OG
original book.
2013. Okay.
Yeah. So I had bought that actually last year when I planned to actually prepare for the GMAT and give it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it once earlier as well, and then I bought the book. Thereafter, I must say, so I went through just the theoretical quant part just to understand the formulas and
Mm-hmm.
revise all of that, because I was getting back to that after a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So the second mock was just those formulas without practicing or doing any questions really.
And what is the gap between the first mock and the second mock? How many days are we talking about, or weeks?
I think it was just about a week.
Just about a week. And
Yeah,
what was your quant score in the second mock?
it was one lesser than the previous one. I think it was 48 in the first one and 47 in the second one.
Oh wow! All right. Okay. So I mean, you were really good with quant, I would say. You scored 49 eventually.
Yes.
And so this kind of uh, so this is very very interesting, basically. So there was an article today in Wall Street Journal which really where it talk about how the average quant score has gone up because more Indians and more Chinese and more South Koreans are now taking the GMAT, and how it's pinching the Americans who
Yes.
actually study for months and months and months and still aren't able to go past the Q46 or Q47 very easily. So the very fact that all you did was revise the formulas and you're still able to do a Q47, Q48 kind of shows that.
The difference is very visible actually, especially if like I'm also planning to give the cat, which is in a couple of weeks from now.
Mhm.
And when you look at the quant in cat, it's far beyond what the quant of the GMAT is.
Okay,
And
I agree. I think actually there are two different beasts. I would say it's GMAT's difficult in its own way, but it's very easy for someone to get into for someone with a decent quant background to get into the Q48. So to breach to Q50 is super difficult. From Q49 to Q50 is a big chasm. Q50 to a Q51 is a big chasm as well. Um,
Mhm.
we have people who work with us or who work for us who are cat toppers. So when I say cat toppers, 100% in quant, and they have a problem getting Q51. They can get to Q49, Q50 very easily, but Q51 on quant is a big chasm over there. So in your second mock, you had a verbal score of 25 or 26, right? Somewhere around that in that ballpark.
Yes.
So you had 30 days before your GMAT. You bought the e-GMAT course. How did you go about studying?
So actually had not decided on a date for my GMAT.
Mm-hmm.
I took up the course and said that I'd like to prepare, and once I'm sure of if I'm consistent with a certain score, that's when I'm going to go and give the GMAT.
Okay.
So I actually signed up for giving the GMAT on 31st, on 30th,
Oh,
just a day
wow.
prior.
Okay.
So once I took up your course, I saw I got the initial Excel sheet, which gives you the breakup of the hours required to go through the course.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with that, went through all of it exactly as structured, went through
Mm-hmm.
the sentence correction first, followed by the critical reasoning and the reading comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started feeling a lot more confident about approaching a GMAT
Okay.
paper. So then I started taking a few more mocks.
Okay.
So I looked at a couple of online, as in I got the GMAT, a 5 GMAT mocks from
Mm-hmm.
800score.com along in the package.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a few from GMAT Club as well. Although the GMAT Club mocks I felt are still in beta, so I don't think they're too good. But I gave the 800 score mocks,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time I bought the 2 additional mocks from GMAT Prep,
The exam pack one, basically.
the exam pack one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and once I started noticing a consistency in score, I was in all those mocks. So I finished the course on the 20th or the 21st, I think,
So in
in
20
20
days,
days.
basically, all three sections.
Yes, all 3 sections.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just basically sit down and listen to the entire thing, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever questions would come, keep attempting all of those then and there.
Okay.
I had the OG13, so whatever questions were related to the OG13, I solved all of that out. And by the 20th, when I finished the course, I started giving mocks again. So in those 10 days, I gave about 7 or 8 mocks.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Uh,
7 or 8 mocks,
where,
that's a lot. Okay.
yeah, I just targeted 1 mock every day. But then Diwali came in the middle, so 1 or 2 days I missed out a couple of them. And yeah, so that's when over the last 3 or 4 days, I started realizing that I was consistently scoring between a 710 and a 730.
Okay.
Even
So,
the exam pack one, I scored a 710 and a 720.
mm-hmm.
So I thought that would be a good time to now give it. And on 30th, I decided to give it on the 31st.
So what was the first, your score in the first mock?
The first mock that I gave, the 800 score, the first mock was about 680.
Okay, so you started at a pretty decent rate, at a pretty decent level.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
as you went from the first mock to the second mock and then on, um, did you do any studying in between, or I mean, how did you review the mock and what did you tell yourself?
So the thing was, so I would do the mock mostly during the day,
Mm-hmm.
and the second half of the day or in the evening or so, I would just scroll through the wrong answers that I got to
Mm-hmm.
understand where I was going wrong. But didn't do any studying as such. There were a lot of answers where I probably just didn't understand why I was going wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
I just ignored them and moved on as well. So I know that I didn't completely kill each wrong answer, but
Mm-hmm.
in most cases, I tried to understand what were the concepts or what was I going wrong with. In quant, it was much easier for me to immediately grasp what I was going wrong with.
Mm-hmm.
But with the verbal part, yes, I tried to understand in most cases where I was going wrong. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it was just that continuous practice that I needed, which helped me take it from there.
So out of the three sections in verbal, which were your strongest and which one was your strongest and which one was your weakest?
Uh, I would say, so by the end of your course, the reading comprehension became my strongest,
Okay.
because initially I would waste a lot of time in approaching and understanding how to go through the whole thing. So I would just skim through the passage first, then go to the question, then come back and read the passage again and search for the answer. So that
Mm-hmm.
was an approach that I was doing prior to taking your course, but
Mm-hmm.
that changed a lot. So I would say reading comprehension became my strength, uh,
Mm-hmm.
followed by
So how did you do it after you took the course?
in the way explained, where you just keep going through the entire passage and understand it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
As in the first reading itself gives you the complete idea of the passage and you know what's where.
So
And
you
then
applied the reading strategies, basically.
I absolutely did apply that reading strategy. That helped me.
Okay.
Uh, I wouldn't say I could apply it 100% because there were, I mean, you would talk in the reading strategy, you would explain also about jotting down points or
Mm-hmm.
uh, trying and understanding the conclusion. I I couldn't do that all the time in each question. There were some questions when I would realize that I think I'm going too slow, and I would try and speed up the
Mm-hmm.
reading. So maybe I didn't do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I did try and apply it as much as possible.
Okay.
Thereafter, the second I would say was sentence correction, which
Mm-hmm.
was relatively easy. The middle, and
Mm-hmm.
what I found toughest was the critical reasoning. Yeah.
Okay. All right, but actually you scored over 80 percentile on verbal. So even when you said you found it toughest, you were kind of hitting the more challenging problems anyway.
Yes, that's how it probably went in the end. But yes, as in out of the three, I would say that was the tougher one.
Perfect. Um, that definitely helps. So when you went to sentence correction, did you apply the three-step process?
Uh, yes, again, I would say I partly applied it, but the thing was, because I had gone through sentence correction in the beginning of the course.
Mm-hmm.
So what I also did actually in the middle of the mocks, when I told you I was doing those various mocks,
Mm-hmm.
on one of the days I went through just uh, the the summaries of each of the videos from sentence correction.
Okay.
Because there was one day when I felt that no, I'm not getting sentence correction right, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when I opened the sentence correction lessons and went through all of that. I
Mm-hmm.
could not completely apply the three-step process all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, probably because in terms of grammar, I wasn't very comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
As in, I really, frankly, I didn't think I would like to waste so much of time on sitting and identifying the subject and the verb and then
Mm-hmm.
finding all of that. So, what I actually started, worked a lot on the process of elimination
Okay.
in sentence correction, because after understanding the various concepts of sentence correction through the lessons,
Mm-hmm.
uh, going through the process of elimination was a lot easier than actually sitting and understanding and applying the three-step process.
But did you actually focus on figuring the meaning out?
Yes, of course. There were a lot of sentences where I had to figure the meaning out as well. So I would read the sentence the first time,
Mm-hmm.
try and understand what they're trying to imply, and then apply sentence correction. I mean, the process elimination aspect.
When I look at you, right, I really see someone who executes things really well. I don't really know if this is by nature or because of your background in the hotel industry, you are required to do things well. Otherwise, there's very little margin for error in your job, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a lot of focus on attention to detail,
Hmm.
and
And when I look at that, it's kind of I'd say it's almost flawless execution, the attention to detail, the focus that you put in, and doing the entire course in 21 days. And you started at a very high level. I mean, starting with a 680, in your first mock is really great. So in terms of your study pattern during these 20 days, so how would you structure your study schedule?
I really, again, I'm not one who follows a strict schedule or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I mean, I would use whatever time I had on my computer and doing the course. So
Okay.
I realized that I'm a person who doesn't really start with early mornings. Although in hotels there have been a lot of times I've worked early mornings, but in terms of studying, even in school, I would never really be the one getting up early. I could
Okay.
stay up late. So I would just sit down with the course as much as possible till I feel sleepy. I've been up till 12:31 on various
Mm-hmm.
days going through those videos. Get up in the morning again. Since I was absolutely doing nothing, I haven't had this kind of a break in a long time.
Okay.
So now that I had the break, and when I had nothing else to do, I would sit and do the course and finish it that way. That was
Okay.
one of them.
Let's talk a bit about the personal side of things over here.
Okay.
You left your job, you started preparing for the GMAT. Now you're done with it, you're going to apply. How did your parents feel about you leaving your job and doing this, and what was their role in this entire cycle of GMAT preparation?
So I would say they've been really supportive. First of all, I mean, it basically starts from me getting into hotels itself,
Mm-hmm.
because of course in India, where everyone has the mindset of doctors and engineers, for me to have chosen that as a line, after having an aptitude for science in class 12
Mm-hmm.
itself shows that they've always been supportive from then.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, my dad was running his own business that time, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like taking up the business.
Okay.
So, and they were absolutely supportive through all of that, where they realized that what I'm passionate about and what I wanted to do is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in terms of the GMAT and MBA, since I told you that there was a time last year, in fact, just before I moved from the Oberoi to Ritz, was another time when I was actually looking at taking up an MBA. So they knew that was on my mind from then. But then the move to the Ritz helped in a way because it gave me a lot of international exposure with the way things were being a
Mm-hmm.
multinational company. So I took that up for a year, and now when I decided to leave my job and get on with this, they were supportive right through.
Perfect. And so I think that must have been a big help in terms of you live with them and in terms of just taking care of your own self and having someone who supports what you're doing.
Absolutely is.
Okay, perfect. So uh, I think in terms of my questions, I pretty much am at the end of what I had for you. But do you want to kind of really talk about? I may have missed a few things that worked for you overall. So some habits that may have worked for you, and the way you studied versus how you see some of your friends studying, etc., etc.
So yeah, I think that's what one of the things that I really feel is that as e-GMAT as a company, you really need to uh, go out in the market a lot more. I surprisingly had not heard about e-GMAT till then. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
People just talk about the big few in terms of Princeton or Manhattan or Kaplan, and in fact, probably I picked up the course, but I still don't know whether it's an Indian company or it's an international company. It's only when I started reading your names as Rajat and that's when I realized that it's probably the two of you who started this up. So there's no history to even on the website. I don't think I have gone through or I have found any history to the company.
There isn't. I mean, there isn't much. Um, I would. That's a very good suggestion, by the way, and I think that's something that we should take on immediately and implement that and talk about how we started. But very briefly, since you asked this question, we started e-GMAT as an experiment in 2010 to really say, hey, can we do better than books? Or the fundamental idea was, if you look at learning, right, private tutor is the most effective mode of learning, but it's also the most expensive and it's also the most limited because there are so few good teachers. And what we kind of realized what a private tutor does is a private tutor gives you chunks of really effective learning and then evaluates you on that constantly. And we kind of really said, can we use that mechanism, leverage technology, and bring this forward? And hence was kind of the course nuggets that you have, where you have concepts files with embedded exercises, and those were formed. The idea was to go through a set of learning and evaluate you right then and there in place, so that you get feedback as to how well you've learned, and then from there on, as you reach a few hundred students, you kind of figure out how various learning nuggets are doing, and then you constantly improve on those learning nuggets. So we started this as an experiment, just as a sentence correction course. In 2010, we had 200 students, and in the first 6 months, we started around on 2nd of August 2010 to be very precise, and it was started by Pyle. I was still working full time at Honeywell at that time, and what we kind of realized was that each of those 200 students who we got was pretty much a retaker, and we had folks, and they improved tremendously after going through our course. We had folks who started at 40 percentile on the GMAT, improved to 80 percentile in 15 days, just with the SC part. Those who started at 70 improved to 90-95 percentile, and that's when we actually really said, okay, there's something that we have which is not there in the market out there. So we launched the CR course 5 months later, so in the middle of 2011. And pretty much 90% of the folks who bought the SC course also bought the CR course. And it was at the end of that I kind of about September of 2011, we kind of really said, okay, this is a proper business now. We need to really invest in it. is something unique that we had. So from about 400 customers in September of 2011 to about 8,000 right now, I think we've added more people. And right now, for the past 15 months, all we've invested in is building a team that is now building courses. And so in terms of getting back to marketing, I think that's something that we will start doing now. And these interviews are a process of I mean, are an attempt to do that. But fundamentally, till about 14 months back, we were just a 4-person company. Now we are a 17-person company. So 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 it took a lot of work to get those people, train them, impart the DNA, and because as a company we are very global. We have people who work from Bangalore. We have an office in Delhi. Pyle and I both work from Phoenix, Arizona, and then we have a few folks in New York as well.
Okay.
And when you are a virtual company, and all of them work full time for us. None of them are contractors, by the way. So
Wow.
so all of these people, I mean, we've graduates from ISB, IIM Calcutta. We recruited all the IIMs, and we also recruited ISB. So
Mhm.
so we have graduates from these people, and it takes a lot of time to impart that DNA and to really say you guys can work virtually, uh, and 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 uh, and you say this is what you're going to do, and they do a good quality job out of it. So yeah, but that's really good feedback that we will take on and invest a bit more on marketing. Um, but in terms of the habits that you think that help you get to improve your verbal score from presumably a 40 percentile, which you were about a month back, to right now you're at 83, 84 percentile. Other than the course, what are some of the habits that you think help you do that?
I don't think there's any habit as such really. I think it's just each person's learning style,
Mm-hmm.
and that just clicked with me. The way your course was structured is what really clicked with me, and I think that's one of the major thing that, because I haven't really done anything apart from your course in preparing it. That's why, as I said, that score that I've got is quite attributed to e-GMAT.
I would say it's attributed to your following the study plan religiously and being diligent. And I think one thing that I really say, and the reason I'm saying that is because I talk to, I've talked to close to 12 to 1300 out of the 8,000 students that we have. And there are those who are like you. The difference is they focus on learning, they focus on understanding what they're doing rather than just uh, 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 checking things off, and also they're very diligent about in terms of, okay, if there's something which is given to them in a structured form, they actually follow that. Payal is very much like this, by the way.
Okay.
So and that's why if she has a structure in terms of, okay, she has a certain way of that things need to be done, she'll do them really well and follow that and be very, very efficient in doing that. And this is kind of what I really see as what you've done. And so I think that's something which is great. So let's talk about a bit more about yourself. So what next? Where are you planning to apply? Or I mean, I see you taking the CAT as well. So
Yes, I am taking the CAT. Let's see how that goes. Now that is a bigger challenge. I've got another book for the CAT mathematics.
hmm
But in terms of applying, would you have any suggestions? So, frankly, as of now, I'm still researching schools. I'm
what do
looking
you
at
want to
options.
do in general? When you say you said technology, hotels. I mean, do you want to work for a startup? Do you want to start your own company?
No, I don't look at starting my own company right away. I look at working for a corporate firm, a bigger firm.
Okay, what's your dream firm?
So again, I don't really have a dream firm as such right now. Uh, so how I got into this was, I told you I tried a couple of jobs as soon as I left the hotel. Apart from the GMAT, I thought let me also pass my resume around and see what kind of jobs I can get.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a company called Micros, which does systems for hotels. They are the
Okay.
pioneers in terms of systems for hotels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I looked at them as well because I had worked with them at both in terms of installation and implementation in
Mm-hmm.
both my hotels. So that was something that I looked at. I have worked with small startups as well. So the in-room automation system at the Oberoi was a small startup based out of India, which is now
Mm-hmm.
growing. They've gone to Dubai, they've gone to London as well. And another startup that I worked with was a London-based startup for the in-room automation system at the Ritz-Carlton.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have a dream company that I want to work with, but yeah, this is probably something that I look at.
So I think there are a couple of things that I can really say. There are 2 to 3 ways to really evaluate schools based on what is it that you want to do. So one thing is, um, if you want to, so it just seems to me what you want to do is go in basically an area that's still emerging, right? The right solutions are still being figured out. Technology is has become a big disruptor in this space,
Indeed.
right? So I think one place where you can't go wrong is probably the Silicon Valley. Look at schools in California, and because I mean a lot of the technology based companies go out of there and figure out, but at the same time figure out, are there startups that are in this space that are over there. Okay. And in that entire in the entire California region, you have, of course, Stanford, you have Berkeley, the Haas School of Business. You can actually go as south as University of the San Diego Business School over there. I don't know exactly the name of the school is, but fundamentally there are lots and lots of these schools. UC Irvine is there, so lots and lots of schools over there. The other way that I would look at is to really say, is there a certain geographic area where a lot of such startups exist? Um, One of the main reasons, or such companies exist. One of the main reasons why wherever you have a new technology, you need to have customers, and because startups usually are around customers itself. Okay. A
That was
third way
very
to
true.
look Yeah, a third way to look at it, as you mentioned Micros, and Micros is an Oracle company. You can really say, okay, let me figure out a way to get into Oracle and then do an internal transition. So, so again, and I think Oracle is also pretty big in Silicon Valley. So that does seem like a good place to be as well. So that's kind of what I would really say. So in terms of job prospects, another uh, way to cut this entire problem would be to say, hey, technology and the service industry. Which business schools are big on that. So kind of figure that out. When it comes to technology, MIT is big on it. Again, Haas comes to mind. Both of them are pretty big technology-related schools. The very strong foundation in technology. I'm sure there is something about Yale also you should research a bit more over there. But Yale is, in terms of its location, is a bit. It's not really right in the center of the city. It's about 2 to 3 hours away from the city. So, but
Okay.
and that's where MIT and Haas, both of them have much better location advantages over there. So, so again, that's kind of what I would look at it. I mean, yours is a very unique situation, uh, but again, there are 2 ways to cut it. One is to really say where the companies are, because if you go to a good school and there are companies around it where you want to work in the same geography, then it's very probable that you're going to be able to get a job after there. And again, the schools must have a reasonable program in technology and services.
So what I'm looking at while planning is, in terms of technology, I don't think it's going to be directly getting into programming or something like that. It's probably with my expertise of hotel operations, I would probably look at something like business development for those kind of technologies,
So
or
building
implementing those kind
technology-centered
of technologies.
businesses, right?
Yes. So probably where hotels are growing is where there would be a need in terms of marketing across the world or something. So what I am looking at is probably Singapore or
Singapore.
Europe. So places like this where, since hotels would keep growing and there could be a need for the technology in terms of the business development of technology over there. So as of now, I'm targeting INSEAD and London Business School.
Okay.
Those are some that I have on my mind. But yeah, I would be happy to hear your views on that as well.
So in terms of, so Singapore is, I think, as a place you can't go wrong with it. I was a bit surprised with regards to Europe when you mentioned. I mean, LBS and NCR are really great schools, but the fact that you mentioned that hotels are growing over there. Um, one thing that and again, uh, one that kind of brings another thing to mind. One thing that I would really think about is, where is it that people are investing in hotels? I mean, which geographies?
Of course, it's right now completely Asia. China and India are budding with hotels. Most of the companies are moving this side.
Okay, and well, that's building new hotels, right?
True.
But what about refreshing the existing hotels? I mean, the hotel industry is still the biggest in US that way. So how much investment are companies doing in refreshing those hotels, and 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 um, and what's the value proposition that because remember, people may be building a lot of new hotels in India. One thing that I know from my experience in India is that even in those hotels, managing technology is still a chore. Versus over here in US, where technology is an integral part of the offering in the hotels itself,
Absolutely.
right? And that's kind of the business that you want to go in. And so while a lot of hotels may be built in India, uh, but those may be built because there's just such a strong demand, and companies might just be interested in building hotels and not worrying about, okay, do they have the latest technology or not. Whereas in US, where there's kind of an oversupply, people do need to differentiate, and I think that's where a lot of the technology investment may be. Again, just something that you have to think about, not just where the hotels are being built, but where people are investing in the kind of technology that you want to work on.
True.
So Singapore, I think, as I say, you can't go wrong because they do both. So I think China also is again. I haven't been to Beijing and a few other major cities over there, but again, as such, they're growing. But from my experience in India and having lived there, technology is an afterthought. In fact, there have been times where in good hotels, with the internet, I've had issues, and I've called their tech support and said they kind of haven't been able to help me out. And I said, okay, show me where your router is, and I've climbed up and fixed it myself.
Okay.
So in the end, I need to get my job done, right? So which isn't the case in hotels in US. I haven't had that. I haven't had to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of what I would really say. And again, a lot of that would be you would know as you look at the companies that are in this domain and where are they implementing projects. So you would know about that from there. But yeah, I mean, good luck, and I think you have a wonderful. I would say you've gotten a great background in terms of why do you want to do an MBA, and I'm sure you'll be able to put that really well in your application. You seem to be a very detail oriented guy, so I'm sure you do great when it comes to putting forward your candidacy.
Thank you so much.